Hello and good evening, and thanks for coming along and listening to Hope giving a talk on all the basics and even going to be showing us some ASL. Not everyone comes from America, not everyone comes from Britain, and sometimes it's good to have a little look at somebody else's sign language and you might pick up something that you think, oh, I can use that one. I can absolutely use that one. I didn't even know it was a sign. Lots of people like to, when they first get their deaf dog, we find in the group, to know what signs to use. But I guess that's something you might be covering in a moment there, Hope. So thank you very much for giving the time this evening and take the floor.
Thank you. My name is Hope Sisitsky. I am from Virginia in the United States, and I have owned my dog training company, High Hopes Dog Training, for about 26 years or so. And I typically work with hearing dogs. I've had a handful of deaf dogs over the years. I never had my own. And I do training from all puppy stuff to aggression to therapy dog training and everything in between. My dog's name is Mooshie. He's getting up from a nap right now. I'm not going to bother him. When I was first gifted Mooshie, he was going to be a foster dog. He had been hit by a car and had to have his rear left leg amputated. So I got called about 3 weeks after that and said, "We have this dog and he needs you as a foster. And by the way, he's deaf and he's missing a leg." And so I said, "Bring it on. I'll try him out." And I fell in love with him. His name had been Poppy at the rescue, and it seemed to me when I brought him into my home that he hadn't been inside a home before. That I think that he lived tied up outside in someone's yard for the 8 months of his life. His fur was stained, almost like he had a leather collar on that was wet and left a stain on his fur. And he attacked the TV set and he didn't know how to walk through doorways and all that kind of stuff. So we worked a lot together and I ended up adopting him and I changed his name. I felt like he was such a special dog. I wanted him to have a special name. And in Hebrew, there's a word mushlam, which means perfect. And I felt like even though there were people who might not think that he was a perfect dog, that he was slightly imperfect, I really felt like he was perfect. So Mooshie is short for Mushlam, and that's what we go by. So we're going to start with just some basics, some beginner work, some beginner signs, the focus mostly being on how to get your deaf dog to even pay attention to you, because if they're not looking at you, then you can't instruct them, you can't communicate with them. What I have learned, I've learned a lot since having Mushi. He's 4 now. Having Mooshie as my deaf dog has really opened up other ways of thinking as a dog trainer. I always knew that clear communication was important when training dogs and teaching them, but this has really emphasized that. When I think about Mooshie in my home, when I do a sign for him, it is only directed at him. There's nobody else in my home that I'm doing sign language with. And so if my hands are doing something and I'm looking at him, he knows that it has to do with him. With a hearing dog, there's so much talking that goes on in a household, people talking to each other, people talking to the dogs. I mean, I even talk to Mooshie and he can't even hear me, but it's part of having a companion and company. But I have really learned and shared this with all my clients that trying to limit all the extra talking, really having good eye contact, even with a hearing dog, having a way to get them to turn and face you and be close to you so they know that when you're speaking to them, and certainly for a deaf dog, when you're signing to them, that this is information for you between you and me, and to try to block out all the other distractions that are going on. So we're going to start with some human training, which it really is all about the humans. It's called dog training, but there's so much work and education that has to do with the humans that becomes a really important part of the dynamics. We want to make sure that you're introducing just a few signs at a time. We don't want to overwhelm the dog with too many signs. And what I do is I keep a list on my fridge. I have two lists. I have one list of all the signs that Mooshie knows, and I have another list of signs that I want to teach him. And when I got Mooshie, I didn't know any sign language. I learned as I came across things like, oh, I need to know how to tell him this, or oh, the neighbor's cats, tease him from the other yard. I'd like to know the sign for cat to be able to name that. Or I want to let him know that we're going to go for a walk or that it's time to go outside. So I looked up ASL signs as I felt like I needed them, and I kept a list. The list was helpful for me to remember because before I knew it, there were a lot of signs that he knew. I also think that it's helpful if you have somebody else taking care of your deaf dog, if you have a pet sitter or grandparents, or God forbid something happens and you have to rehome your dog, whoever is with your dog is going to know exactly what signs they know. It's also important as much as possible to teach your dog the actual sign language sign, and don't just, make up a point for a sit, or, make things up, because then nobody's going to know how to communicate with the dog if we have new people communicating with the dog. Whereas if you have your list, they can just look up how to say all those things and be able to work with the dog. When you are training your dog, make sure that you're standing up straight, your feet are apart a little bit, your shoulders are back, you're looking nice and confident. Your hand motions should be confident. Make sure you know the motion before you start practicing it. You want to practice it on your own first. I feel like it's important to have your treats. I'm always using treats as a reinforcer and as a reward for doing the work for me. But I have my treats in a pouch like so, and I keep them behind me. I want to make sure that the dog I'm working with, and this goes for hearing and non-hearing dogs, they're not just staring at the pouch that is right in front of their face, and that they're looking up at my face instead. If the pouch of treats is behind you, they know that it's there. They see your hand reaching back there. They can smell that the treats are there, but having it out of their line of vision, I feel like is helpful for future training also. Something to think about: if your dog is used to always seeing the pouch on your front pocket, or they're used to you always, sticking your hand in that pocket, or you're always holding your hand here full of treats, they're going to look for those cues. And if they don't see your hand in this position, or they don't see the pouch right in front of their face, they're like, oh, maybe there aren't any treats. Maybe I won't respond well. So I like to have the treats out of sight. When we teach a new behavior, we start with using the treat as a lure to shape the behavior, and we name the behavior right when it happens. I say this all the time, whether you are speaking it or signing it, name the behavior as it happens. If we are teaching our dog to sit, and you're doing sit when they're standing, and then you do sit again while they're halfway there, and then you do sit again while they scratch their ear, and sit again when they're finally sitting, you've just named four different positions the same word. So what does this actually mean? That can be confusing. So whether it's verbal or whether it's sign language, name the behavior when it happens. As soon as their bottom hits the floor, that's when you would do the sign for sit. This is when you are teaching a new behavior. If you're teaching like a word or an action like you're teaching walk, for example, then you want to be naming walk while you're walking and just keep repeating that and catching their eye, doing walk, and then they learn, oh, when she does this sign, it's when we're out walking, so this must mean we're going to put my gear on and go for a walk. After you name it when it's happening for a couple of weeks, then you should be able to do the sign or say the word if you have a speaking dog, and they'll know what you're talking about. But the naming when it happens is really, really important. Then, once they know the word, we can name it, do the sign, and the treat becomes a reward as a result for doing the behavior. So we name the behavior. Let's say we do sit. They know what the sign means. They sit. Then we give the thumbs up, which means, yes, you just did what I asked for. And then a treat always follows the thumbs up. I use the thumbs up as an indicator that you're going to get rewarded for doing that behavior. If I don't have my treats with me, then I'm not going to do the thumbs up. Instead, I do good boy or good girl. And that is the reinforcer, the verbal praise. And I instruct people that are new to signing with their dogs to charge up the thumb for a few days, do that thumbs up and toss a treat, thumbs up, hand a treat, thumbs up, give a handful of food. Pair the thumbs up with the food reward so your dog learns that association. And then as you get used to doing the signing and you become better skilled at it, then you can add the good boy, good girl. So this is good. And then boy is like you have a baseball cap and you're pulling the lid. So good boy. And then good girl is I saw recently that this is like you're tying the strings of a bonnet, which is, we're not being gender neutral here. But so that's how you can remember good boy, good girl, and that should come after the thumbs up. So the focus on positive reinforcement training is to teach our dogs what we want them to do and then reward them for doing the right behavior. I get asked a lot with all dogs, especially with the deaf dogs, how do I tell them no? How do I teach them to stop doing this, stop doing that, stopping? Well, they don't know what else to do. So we need to teach them what to do instead. Instead of saying, no, 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 don't go after my shoelaces, teach them leave it instead. Or no, 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 get off the countertop, teach them off. Instead, tell them what you want them to do and teach them those behaviors. I'm going to start with Mooshie with doing a behavior that I call touch. And I use touch as a way of getting Mooshie close to me and getting him facing me. So if he's right in front of me and he's touching my hand, which is out by my side, I've got his attention. So I can then tell him what I need him to do next. Or I use that a lot of times for recall. I might have my hand out, I kind of wave my hand, the visual cue of the hand as like a target. He goes right to it with his nose. I give him a thumbs up and reward him. We go in the house, we go to the car. It's a great way to get attention. So let me show you with Mooshie. Oh, he knows we're ready. That is Mooshie. So to start with, we see I got my pouch behind me. I'm going to have a treat tucked under my thumb. See, I've got a treat there. I tuck it under my thumb. My hand is going to be out to my side at Mooshie's nose level. When he touches it, and this behavior for me doing touch doesn't even have a separate sign. It's just teaching to tag that hand. Once he touches it, I lift up the thumbs up and then I let him have the treat. Let me show you. And what I like to do, even when I'm working with deaf dogs, is I still like to use my voice. I find that when we say the words and we say, good boy, good girl, we get the expression on our faces, whereas if we're just silent, then our face tends to just be blank. So I do that. That's up to you if you want to do it, but I think it's a good idea. Touch, my thumbs up, then I let him have the treat. Touch, thumbs up, I let him have the treat. touch, thumbs up. I let him have the treat. If he's not looking, then I can wave my hand, I can wiggle my fingers, I can touch his bottom. I know, wait. He's excited to get his attention. Oh, we're doing all of our tricks. Good boy. So we touch, thumbs up, and as you can tell, I'm moving around so that he's targeting my hand. When we are in the yard or somewhere else in the house and he can see me, I just stick out that hand, wiggle it a little bit, and he comes running right to that hand. Because for him, it's like an activity, and he gets a goodie, and he gets my praise, and so he loves it. It works really, really well. Another thing that's so important with deaf dogs is teaching them to look at you. A lot of looking at you. You need them making eye contact with you, looking up at your face. That's the only way that we can tell them what we need them to do is if they're looking at us. So I teach a behavior called look. And the way that we teach that with the treat again to shape it, the treat's in my fist and I have my finger pointed. I'm going to start with the treat in my fist by Mooshie's nose, point to my eye. When he looks at me, I change that point to a thumbs up to let him know, yes, you just looked at me, and then I reward him. You are shaping the position of your dog's eyeballs. It's a very subtle behavior, so you want to make sure to have really good time. As soon as they make eye contact, you get that thumb up. Let me show you. Let's go a little closer. Now, what tends to happen when we're doing this behavior is if your dog already knows sit, they're used to sitting in front of you, or when you move the treat over their head, they tend to sit. That's fine, but don't make sit part of it. I don't like combining sit, look, or, come, step. Like, I like doing one behavior at a time. I don't want Mooshie to learn that the only time he looks at me is when he's seated in front of me. Because we do a lot of look while we're walking. We do a lot of look when he is in the yard and maybe he's laying on a chair in the yard and I want him to look at me. So try not to combine things that you might, by mistake, teach your dog that pattern. So he can be sitting here, he could be standing, he could be on the couch, I don't care. I'm letting him sniff the treat. I point to my eye. We gotta look, good boy. And I reward him. Look, good. Try to keep your thumb up close by so he's still kind of looking in this area. Now I'm going to do, I'm going to stretch out like doing a look. Yes, look, yes, get him to look a little bit longer, and then I'm going to reward him. So we got a look, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Then I reward him. That was really good, so I'm going to tell him, hooray! Hooray, hooray! So as you get better at all of this, you can throw in the good boy or the good girl, and that can be part of that. Choking on a treat. So I would tell him to look, and then we've got a thumbs up, look, thumbs up, look, thumbs up, good boy. And then I can reward him. So you can throw that in once you feel like you've got all the other things mastered, but you don't want to push yourself too quickly, nor your dog. You're learning a language, and so you want to feel comfortable with the pace that you're moving. Can I do one more thing? Okay, so I want to show you a game that I call Come and Get It. And I use this with hearing dogs with the word come. With deaf dogs, I use the sign for come. And I'm going to try to do it in my living room. It might be a little tricky, but I'll do my best. Let me first explain it. I'm going to toss a treat between my legs, and that's the go get it part. When Mooshie goes between my legs to get the treat, I'm going to run. I don't really have too much space to run. I'm going to move in the opposite direction and call him to come to me. When he gets to me, I toss the treat between my legs. He runs between my legs to get the treat. I go in the opposite direction, call him to come to me. So we're going back and forth. The tossing of the treat, the go get it part, gives you the opportunity to move away from your dog. And then the pattern, the repetition of the back and forth gives you the opportunity to keep repeating the sign for come. I don't have a sign for the go get it. The tossing of the treat is just like, go and get the treat. The focus for this exercise is the come. And that's really what I want to emphasize. Remember, one thing at a time is really the best way to go. All right. Let me grab a few treats. Okay, so I'm going to toss here, and then I run this way, doing the sign come, toss it, I run this way, call him come, I toss the treat, come this way. Something else that this is really good for is if your dog is used to running between your legs, then when you call them to come and you have your legs together, you get a perfectly straight recall. If they're used to running here, but then your legs are together, they're going to stop right in front of you instead of stopping a couple of feet ahead of you. And then, this motion of you reaching to grab them, it tends to make them run off again. This way you get them right in front of you. You've got their attention. Again, it's fun. As far as they're concerned, you're just playing a game and they're eating treats, and you're teaching your dog exactly what you want them to learn. It should always be very, very positive. Okay, questions. Do we have any questions?
Haven't had any come up at the moment, but they've all been very impressed with Mooshie and they love him. Lots of love art floating around and saying that he's enjoying it. If any of you do have a question, just pop it there in the chat box and then I can read it out to Hope. Maybe in the meanwhile, Hope, you could show us a few more ASL signs that you might use.
Okay, well, I just did one because Mooshie is sticking his nose over in the trash can while we're talking. So this is leave it. And to teach that, you want to have an item that you're telling your dog to leave. So I'm going to use this treat in my left hand, and I want him to leave this treat alone. I might reward him with the same type of treat, but that doesn't matter. I'm telling him to leave this one alone. So I have it here, and I do the sign, leave it, and we're going to do yes, and then reward. Leave it. And I'm going to kind of extend that thumbs up so he's leaving it longer and longer. If he were to go to my hand, now Mooshie's done this for years with me, so he knows what this means, and you're thinking like, well, my dog's not going to do that. So the correction is to close your hand and do a gentle nudge back so that you're basically saying, this is my space. You back up out of my space. You just do a little bit of a nudge. It's a way that dogs communicate when they're interacting with each other. So leave it. Yes. Good boy. Good boy. And I reward from the other hand. When you're done with leave it, do not give your dog the leave it piece, because then I think they learn the pattern of, I'm going to leave it 27 times, and then I get it. And that's not usually what happens when we use leave it in real life. I use wait. This is wait. And then take for something that you can have, like a treat or a chewy or a toy or something. When I use leave it, it's something that you cannot have this thing right now. So, like the trash can, he clearly can't get into the trash. So, that is a leave it, like leave it alone and forget about it. So, you don't want to end the exercise with giving the leave it piece. Just put that piece away.
It was really funny watching you there with him showing us the leave it, but when you were telling us about how to make your dog go back, he was squiddling backwards in
Oh,
his
I didn't even
action.
notice.
I'm doing it, Mum. I'm doing it. Absolutely fantastic. So there again, look, you're a trainer. I'm a trainer. I do the same thing sometimes. I've got my dog with me. I'm talking to someone else and telling them about it. My dog's busy doing it, and I haven't
Yes.
noticed. So yeah, yeah, it's been really cool. Lovely to see Moochie and yourself, of course, but especially Moochie.
Of course.
And I'm very grateful for your time. Within the ASL in general, are you just showing people, I guess, the signs, for, like you say, for what they need in life? So
I like I
people have different lives ahead of them. So do you get them to like make up their own little dictionary or something before they get going so they know where they're heading?
So I have the basics, just like we would, there's always like the list of like 6 or 7 cues that you want any dog to know for safety and good manners and whatnot. And then I have them tell me what they need in their lives. So I'm working with a couple of people who have deaf dogs, and before our lessons, they send me an email, they give me a little update how the dog is doing, and then they say, "Oh, we're finding like we need to know this sign." Or the next time we meet, can we go over these 3 signs? And that way I'm prepared so I know ahead of time what they want to know. Sometimes I have to look them up so that I have to learn it first in order to teach them. I don't know all the signs. Um, but yes, that is true. People have different needs, and just like when we speak to our hearing dogs and you can teach them tons and tons of things, you can name their toys, you can name tricks. We can do the same with deaf dogs. You can teach them whatever you want to teach them.
Lovely. I'm glad we got that point in. The more we can say that, the more people will hear it, hope. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, we haven't got any questions right now. As and when we put the recording up in the group, obviously there then might be some questions that follow with people who watch it on then. I'm so grateful for your time this evening. Thanks for coming
Sure.
along. Yeah, because I want different people talking because there's different ways we all train. And your way might be the right one for this person or something from yours and then something from somewhere else. Give them the whole package. And that's what we're hoping for through this month. So thank you so much for coming on
You're
board.
welcome.
Very much indeed. Okay, I'm going to switch the recording off now, guys. If oh, hang on, there might be a question. No, just people saying thank you, Hope. So yes, okay, I will take the recording off now.